Hey, this is another video I'll do. So I'm watching this dude, I can't remember, but he's going on about basically why there's some people who doesn't like it when people do videos about the reasons why AAA games suck, which there's plenty of reasons. A lot of them do suck, and I'm just like, you know what? Who cares if you pay what $70 for a unfinished, buggy, broken piece of crap? Who cares at the end of the day? Because it should be enjoyable. You shouldn't have expectation. What expectation? We don't need expectation. All we need is promise upon promise upon promise upon promise that can never be fulfilled just to market a fucking game. Excuse my language. Because that makes all the difference. It's not that Elden Ring fucking matters. It's not. Cyberpunk 2077 is so fucking great. There was nothing ever wrong in the fucking release. And yes, I know I'm being sarcastic. Thank you. What a bunch of horseshit. Okay, and the fact is these games, except for Elden Ring, have been released unfinished, broken promises, crap, garbage. And it's funny because these are the same people that will claim that the industry is will never go into a recession like it did in 1983. In Japan, it's called the Atari crash because it was caused by Atari. Literally. The whole thing was caused by a number of things. Mainly caused by Atari trying to make basically release broken games, and the boom of the publishers releasing games and low quality games, and so it eventually crashed. And what do we see now? Legit, what do we see in the industry today? We see a lot too many games, too many to count, a lot of low quality, crappy, garbage games, a bunch of cheap mobile crap. We're exactly repeating history. And it's funny because those who claim it'll never happen, it's like, don't ever say never, because when you say never, life will hit you like a ton of bricks. What I mean by that is just because you think it'll never happen, it's going to happen. People say that the civil conflict in America will never happen. It'll be like the late 19th century Civil War. No, we're having a civil conflict, and it's not like the late 19th century Civil War. It's more like the Colombia Civil War. And well, we are already in it. Whether people want to acknowledge it or not. I mean, it's fine by me if you want to be a egotistical douchebag and thinks that it's all handy dandy and there's nothing that ever could go wrong in this country. When it's been proven time and time again, things have gone wrong. But hey, Don't let me fool you, because I'm just some crazy people who whatever. I'm just being sarcastic, but my point is don't believe people who say it will never happen, because whenever they say it's never going to happen, it's going to happen. I'm sorry. There will be. I have a feeling there will be a. For one, I have a feeling we're in a civil conflict. And for two, I have a feeling there's going to be a video game industry crash like what happened in 1983. Yes, things will be different, but for the most part, it will happen under the same circumstance. Too many games, too many low quality games, and just, yeah, it awful, you know. And it's sad because I thought this industry has learned from its past. I thought Nintendo truly learned. They don't. They don't learn. These are corporations that don't give two crap about what you want or anything. They only care about greed. There's no way for them to learn. And I think there will be an industry, a reckoning for this industry if the industry isn't willing to get its act together and act professional instead of putting greedy hands on everything. And I know people say, well, it's capitalism. Sweetie, it's not capitalism. It's just plain greed. There's a difference between capitalism and greed. Capitalism is completely different from greed. Greed is when you just monetize everything about the game. That's greed. I'm sorry, that's absolute greed. So go ahead, tell me how I'm wrong and how capitalism is bad. No, capitalism is good. Video games wouldn't exist if it wasn't for capitalism. You have to understand that, right? It's because of capitalism that we got video games. Okay, it's greed that's bad. Capitalism, indie studios are capitalism. Okay, the reason, because they make good products that the consumers want to buy. That is capitalism. What the likes of EA and Activision Blizzard and Ubisoft and all these other companies are doing are not capitalism. I'm sorry, it's not. It's just plain effing greed. It comes to a point where it goes from capitalism to just greed. And yeah, that line have crossed many times. Because they don't care about capitalism, they don't care about ethics, they don't, and the thing is, the government isn't going to do anything. You think Nancy Pelosi is going to do a dang thing about it? They are in bed with these companies. The only reason why they're going after the likes of Microsoft and Apple and Amazon and all these tech companies is because they're getting too big for their control. Because at the end of the day, the people like Nancy Pelosi, the winos, the establishment are just totalitarians. And I know people say, well, no, they're not. We're a democracy. We're this, we're that. First of all, not a democracy. Second of all, we're a constitutional federal republic with a constitution that makes up the republic and a union that makes up the constitution, which makes up the republic, which makes up the federal government. We're not a democracy. We never have been. We never will be. Okay? We are a republic. It says that in the name, even in the Constitution itself. And second of all, I know people say, well, no, totalitarian. Globalism is totalitarian. Globalism, Nazism, fascism, socialism, communism, they're just the same thing. Every one of those are the same thing. Because you go so far right and so far left, you'll meet at the same point. That's why you have mainstream media who are leftists. That's why you see them praising actual Nazis. Legit. That they actually support Nazis. And I'm not saying this to be whatever. I'm saying this because it's the fucking truth. And I know people don't want to believe it, but it makes perfect sense. Because they're the same people who claim they're anti-fascist when in reality they're doing exactly what they claim they don't do. They are fascists. Going around telling people what they can and can't do, what they can and can't say, what they can and can't think, how they can practice, and all that. That is fascism. I'm sorry. Okay, that's fascism. That's what Antifa wants. Is that. They're not actual anti-fascists. They are fascists. And the more people realize that, the more we can acknowledge that and be like, stop this crap. But it's never gonna happen. Trust me, it won't. I mean, this is the same establishment that killed President Abe Lincoln, the one who saved this country from splitting into two. The one that is mercilessly being called racist, even though he made it illegal to have slaves, by the way, who's also a Republican. They're also the one who probably assassinated JFK, because JFK was trying to get rid of the intelligent community, and they can't have that. And who do you think killed Martin Luther King?